today. My name is YuTing. I'm the Registered Migration Agent from Aussizz Group, and I'm based in Western Australia, Northbridge office. Today, I'm gonna give you some information about social work as well as its leading peer pathway. The reason why I would like to talk about this social work is because, first of all, social worker is on the migration occupation list. So it does have a very good peer pathway. Secondly, there is a high demand of this type of like healthcare and social assistant industry. So it's a very good career for you to be for you to start in Australia. All right, so today my life pretty much it will consist of two parts. The first one I will give you some idea about this the course as well as this job. Like what does a social work do? What does a social worker do? That's actually a most common question that I've been always asked by my clients because there would be lots of like confusion or uncertain from my clients. Like they're always asking, so what does a social worker do, and what the difference is between a social worker and a community worker? So in the first part, I would like to discuss this with you, and I will give you a comparison between the social worker and community worker as well to help you to build a better understanding. Secondly, comes to the most important part, what is the leading migration pathway in Australia as a social worker? All right, let's start. So what does a social worker do? So social worker is actually I'll just give you a rough idea. The definition of a social worker from the Australian Bureau of Statistics website is to assess the social needs of individuals, families, and groups, assists and empowers people to develop and use the skills and resources needed to resolve social and other problems, and furthers human well-being and human rights, social justice, and social development. All right, so because there are two different type of position and also two different courses available in Australia, which is social work and also community service. So lots of people they're confused about these two courses and the career pathway. So what's the difference between social worker and community worker? First of all, it's the scope of work, the different scope of work. Like what I said, the social worker pretty much social worker is um, social work is a I would say it's a broader study. So pretty much you need to study everything about the human well-being. However, for community development or community service, it comes under social work. So you can say it is a method of social work. For a community worker, you can be just specialized in a certain part of a welfare issue, like welfare industry. Like if you study community service, you can become a, let's say, the community development worker, or you can become a disability support officer, or you can become a residential support officer who is mainly dealing with the house issue. So that's what a community worker do. So community worker is more specialized in a certain aspect of welfare matters, while social worker will be involved in all the aspects of social development. All right, so this is the first big difference between social worker and community service worker. The second one is the qualification requirement. So in Australia, if you want to become a social worker, the required skill level is at least a bachelor qualification or above. Okay, so which means if you want to become a social worker in Australia and later on even get the permanent resident, get the migration done as a social worker, you must have a qualification which is a bachelor degree or above in social work. Okay, and in Australia, the Bachelor of Social Work is 4 years course, Or you can choose if you have already got a master, like you already got a bachelor degree and you're aiming to get a master done, you can do Master of Social Work as well. And the Master of Social Work is a 2-year duration course. For community worker, it's a bit different. So community worker just requires you to have at least a diploma qualification or above. All right, just the diploma is good enough. So here in Australia, if you study a diploma of community service, that is just a 2 years course. If you can also choose to do the Bachelor of Community Service. That is a 3 years course, which is 1 year shorter than the Bachelor of Social Work. So this is the second difference between social worker and community worker. And the third one is the PR pathway. Yes, so there will be slightly difference on the PR pathway as well. For social worker, this position, it is actually on the medium long-term occupation list for migration. So make it easy. As a social worker, theoretically, you have all the PR pathways. You should have all the access. You might have access to all the PR pathways. But for community worker, this position, it is only on short-term list. So it only got limited PR pathways. All right, so these above mentioned points are the main differences between social worker and community worker. Let's talk about social work more specifically. So if you are if you're thinking to study a course, that's why I would strongly suggest you to consider that this Bachelor or Master of Social Work, study this course in Australia. That will help you with your career development and also eventually migrate to Australia. So like what I say, the Bachelor of Social Work is usually it's a 4 years course, while the Master of Social Work is a 2 years course. This social work, this requirement, the enrollment requirement would be comparably higher than most of the other courses. So no matter whether you do Bachelor or Master of Social Work, the enrollment requirement will be 7H in IELTS. Okay, 7H in IELTS or PTE. So this is the enrollment requirement. Keep in mind. So because social work requires you to have a very good communication skills, right? So you need to your work your work is like most of your days like keep talking to people who need help. So English is a very important requirement for you to become a social worker. So when you apply for this course, you need to have 7H in IELTS or PTE or TOEFL when you apply for this course. So be very careful here. So now let's come to the second part. What is like after you graduate, after you finish the Bachelor or Master of Social Work, what's next? Okay, and how this course can lead you to get the permanent resident in Australia. So first of all, once you graduate, you will be eligible for 485 visa. So what is 485 visa? It's graduate work visa. This visa is designed for Australian graduates, for international students who have completed at least 2 years study in Australia. All right, so if you studied a Bachelor of Social Work, then you will be eligible for 2 years 485 visa. If you studied Master, then you will be eligible for 3 years 485 visa after graduation. If your study is completed in regional area and while holding 485 visa, you will be continuing staying in regional area, you will be eligible for another 1 or 2 years of visa extension. All right, so this is a very valuable time, and it's a very valuable time for you to sort out your PR. So in total, it should give you at least 3 to 5 years to stay in Australia, to get work experience. In the meantime, sort out your PR pathway. All right, and I would say this should be more than enough for social work graduates to get their migration. All right, so while let's say once we graduate, what's the next thing to do? So first thing, 485 visa. Secondly, what I would suggest you to do is to get your skills assessment done. So what is skills assessment? Skill assessment is a prerequisite for you to apply for any type of permanent residence as a social permanent resident visa as a social worker. So in general, when we talk about the PR, we usually divide all the PR visas into two big categories. The first one is general skill migration, and the second one is employer-sponsored visa. But no matter which type of visa you would like to apply, especially the general skill migration, all right, which I will give you more idea later on. But the very first thing you need to get done is the skill assessment. So you must first get a full skill assessment outcome done before you're eligible for any type of PR visas. So how can you get the skills assessment done? The skills assessment body for social worker is called AASW, Australian Association of Social Workers. So if you grab a bachelor or a master of social work in Australia, actually the skill assessment is quite easy for you to pass. Okay, so apart from this bachelor or master qualification, the other requirement is English requirement. So it's English requirement again. All right, so here for this skill assessment body, it requires you to must have 7H in IELTS academic only. So only IELTS academic test is acceptable. If you did PTE, you did OET, or you did TOEFL, unfortunately, they are not acceptable in skill assessment, in this skill assessment process for social worker. All right, you must do IELTS academic, and you must get 7H in each component. But let's say if unfortunately you didn't get 7H in one seat, this skill assessment body, they do accept the combined points, the combined results from two test sittings. Okay, from two IELTS test sittings, which were taken in within 6 months' time. So, for example, they do accept the two sittings in 6 months' time, but with no individual band that is less than 6.5. So this is the second requirement. I'll just give you an example. Let's say if my first IELTS sitting, the result is 777, but 6.5 in reading. All right, I just need to do another test within 6 months and try to get 7 in reading. Okay, for the second time. However, for the second time, I still need to make sure all the other component score is no less than 6.5. All right, so this is the English requirement for the skill assessment of being a social worker. So once you pass the skill assessment, then we can talk about the PR visa. All right, so I would like to first talk about the general skill migration, because general skill migration is definitely the most ideal and the quickest way for you to get permanent residence. So what is general skill migration? You definitely have some friends surrounding you who keep talking about their points, or they're always talking about the invitation rounds. Yes, that's the visa. General skill migration is the visas they are applying for, and what they are talking about. So general skill migration, under this program, there are 3 different subclasses of visa. 189, independent migration, 190, skilled nomination, and 491. This is a provisional PR only. So all these three subclasses of visa, they are point-based. Okay, and they are invitation. They are based on invitation. That's by invitation. You cannot straight away apply for any of these 3 types of visa straight away. You must meet certain requirements, lodge the expression of interest, and then wait for invitation to invite you to apply for the visa. So what's the difference? I will let you know. Sorry. So for 189 visa, it's an independent skill migration. Independent means you do not need to rely on any person or rely on any state nomination. As long as you have enough high points, you lodge the expression of interest, you will get invitation. You might get invitation. And once you get invitation, you can directly lodge your visa and then become the permanent resident. So definitely this is the best visa. Secondly, that's 190, which is called skilled nomination visa. So this is kind of like state nomination visa. You need to seek you need to be nominated or be sponsored by a certain state. All right, and so because this is a visa that is sponsored by nominated by the state, you will get some benefit from the state. For example, you will get extra 5 points offered by the state. Okay, so which makes your points higher. Same for 491 visa. So 491 visa is a provisional visa, provisional PR. Under 491, there are 2 different streams as well. The first one is also state nomination. It's regional state nomination. Compared to the 190 visa, that state will only offer you 5 points. 491 state nomination, the state government will offer you 15 points, like more points to make your points higher and more outstanding. And the second stream is called family sponsor stream. So let's say if you have a family relative, like your brothers, like your siblings, your cousin, your uncle, auntie, who are already permanent residents or Australian citizen, and they are usually residing in the regional area, you will be eligible for this 491 family sponsor stream as well. And your relative will be able to give you extra 15 points as a relative sponsor points. Okay, so I will just quickly let you know what is the current cutoff point for social worker under each visa, under each subclass of this general skill migration visa. So according to the October invitation round for 189 independent migration visa and the 491 family sponsor visa, the cutoff point for 189 in October invitation round for social worker is only 65 points. So actually you have to know 65 points is a very, very, I would say it's a very low score. I'm pretty sure as a social work graduates, it's just piece of cake for everybody to get 65 points. Yeah, so later on I can quickly calculate for you. And for the 491 family sponsor visa, the cutoff invitation points is 75 for offshore applicants and 90 for onshore applicants. You might think the point is, how come the point is it's much higher than 189? You have to keep in mind for 491 family sponsor, you're actually getting extra 15 points from your family member, from your relatives. So let's say 75 points for offshore applicants. Actually, for the offshore applicant themselves, they're actually only getting 60 points with extras. On top of that, the 15 points is offered by the state. So in comparison, the 491 invitation point is actually, even the invitation point is actually even lower than the 189. So it's so easy. All right, and come back to the word just now. I said it's so easy for social work graduates. Why am I saying that? I will do a quick calculation for you. Let's say most of the bachelor or master graduates, your age, let's say your age range, the range of your age should be still within 25 to 33 years old, 25 to 32 years old. So if your age is between 25 to 32, you should have, you are sitting at the highest age point. You have 30 points. All right. And once you finish the bachelor or master in Australia, you straight away get 15 points from the qualification, plus another 5 points from the 2 year, like no less than 2 years Australian study. And if you finish your study in a regional area, like your university is in the regional area, which means any place outside Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney, you get extra 5 points from the regional area study. So how many points you have already got? 30 plus 15 plus 5 plus 5, that's already 55 points. And that's not the end. On top of that, because most of the, like I would say 99% of the social worker graduates, if you have already passed the skill assessment, you have already got 7H. All right. So if you have 7H, it will give you extra 10 points for these EOI points. So that's already how many points in total? 65 points. And that's not the end. All right, let's say if you are still a single, that's great. You again automatically get another 10 points from the single status. So see how easy it is for you to reach 75 points easily, all right, without any difficulty by yourself. So 75 points, it's not a very big deal for social worker, for social work graduates. You should be able to get this or minimum 65 points easily once you finish your study and once you pass your skill assessment. All right. Yeah, so 189 and 491 family sponsor, currently they are inviting quite a lot social worker applicants with very minimum, with just a minimum point, with 65 points. So if you are already a social work graduate, if you already finished your course, I would just suggest you to straight away put your EOR in, and you should have a very high chance to get the invitation very soon. About the 190 and 491 state nomination, actually that is every state. So state nomination, because state nomination, like what I say, it's sponsored by every state. So every state, they will have their own occupation list, and also slightly different on the, they will have their additional requirements for the applicants, because this is state-sponsored visa. The state gives you extra points. So of course, as a return, you need to meet certain requirements made by the states. So every state, they got their own requirements and their own occupation list. But currently, social work, like what I said, this type of like this medical and this industry, this healthcare and social assistant industry, it is actually in high demand in Australia. So most of the states, they are sponsoring social worker with not a very hard requirements. So because I'm based in Western Australia, I would like to just give Western Australia. I would like to give Western Australia state nomination as an example. So currently, for Western Australia state nomination, there are 3 different streams. So 3 different streams got, like every stream got their own occupation list, and also slightly different on the criteria. But for social worker is sponsored by all these 3 different streams. So see, that is also, that can also show like definitely this social worker is in a high demand, all right, especially in Western Australia. So for Western Australia, the, like what I said, the criteria is slightly different depending on different stream. So the first stream is called General Stream Schedule 1. That requires the applicants to have at least 1 year work experience, all right, 1 year work experience, and with another full-time job contract in Western Australia. So the work experience that can be obtained from anywhere, from offshore or from other states, no problem. Plus another 1 year, another full-time work experience, another full-time job contract. This job contract must be in Western Australia. So this is the General Stream 1, General Stream Schedule 1 requirements. Then comes to the General Stream Schedule 2. General Stream Schedule 2 requires the applicants to have at least 6 months full-time job contracts in Western Australia for 190 visa. If you're aiming to get 491 visa, then there is no requirement at all. All right, so I'll make it easy. For General Stream Schedule 1, no matter whether you want to get 190 or 491 visa invitation, you must have 1 year work experience plus another full-time job contract in Western Australia. But for General Stream Schedule 2, if you are aiming to get 190 invitation, okay, then at the state nomination stage, you must have secured a full-time job contract in Western Australia for at least 6 months. But if you don't mind to get the 491 invitation, no problem. There is no work experience requirement, no job contract requirements. And the third stream for Western Australia state nomination is graduate stream. Graduate stream is designed for Western Australia graduates only. So only graduates from Western Australia who studied at least 2 years course in Western Australia will be eligible for this stream. So for this stream, this is the easiest stream because there is no additional requirement at all. It just requires you to be the Western Australia graduate. Other than that, pretty much there is no work experience requirement, no job contract requirement at all for both 190 and 491 visa. All right, so if you haven't started, if you're still thinking or choosing from the courses and you're planning to come to Australia to study, and if you're interested in social work, I'm actually quite suggesting, I would say choose Western Australia is a very good option. Okay, it's a good idea. First of all, Western Australia is still considered as a regional area. You will get lots of benefits from being studying from studying in a regional area, and also currently the Western Australia state nomination policy is very good. Yeah, it's very good. So back in the few invitation rounds, like the past few invitation rounds for Western Australia state nomination has also shown there is a very positive, if you're a social worker, it's very easy for you to get invitation through the Western Australia state nomination. So I'll just give you an example for the in the October invitation round. So in the October invitation round, the minimum cutoff point for social worker under the Western Australia state nomination is just 65 points only. And these 65 points already included the 5 points or 15 points offered by Western Australia, which means if you are aiming to get 491 visa invitation, you just need to get 50 points minimum by yourself. All right, you just need to get 50 points minimum by yourself as a social worker. Then you already, you might be able, there will be already a very high chance for you to get invitation. So 50 points, how easy it is for you to get. Yeah. So these are the current situation or current, this is the current situation of being invited under the general skill migration stream as a social worker. Let's say because all of these state nomination policies or the invitation points are always changing. So of course, let's say if you will start to study the social work from now on, then you might need another 2 to 4 years to complete the study. So after you complete the study, maybe what just now I mentioned to you is already changed. All right, so no one knows. This is unpredictable. So, but here it comes to the second peer pathway, which is the employer sponsor. Let's say if after your graduation as a social worker, it is no longer that easy for you to get general skill migration invitation, or it's just for some reason you haven't sorted out your PR pathway at the end of your 485 visa. Is there any other way for you to stay here and get permanent resident as social worker? Yes, there is. All right. So the second PR pathway is through the employer sponsor. Like what I say, the social worker is on medium long-term list. So you actually, theoretically, you have all the peer pathways. So the second peer pathway is employer sponsor. Under the employer sponsor program, there are the main visa subclasses are 482, which is a temporary resident visa, work visa. 186, this is the direct PR visa. And the third one is 494 visa. That's a provisional PR. That's a regional skilled employer-sponsored visa. So employer-sponsored visa, apparently, you need to find an employer who is happy to sponsor you as a social worker. So if, let's say, if you have secured an employer who is happy to sponsor you, happy to help you to get PR, then employer-sponsored visa, it might be a better option for you if you want to get rid of, like, if you don't want to always calculate your points, or let's say if your age is not that advantageous, right? Maybe employer sponsor is more advantage for you. So if you have already got an employer who is happy to sponsor you, then the other most important criteria for employer sponsored visa is you need to have certain years of full-time work experience. So for 482 visa, which is a temporary work visa, you need to have at least 2 years full-time work experience as social worker. All right, 2 years full-time for you to be eligible for this visa. For 186 visa, you need to have 3 years full-time work experience after graduation. And for 494 visa, the same. You need to have 3 years full-time work experience. So for all these three types of visa, the equivalent part-time is also considered. So let's say if all your past work experience were just part-time, let's say you only did 20 hours per week of part-time job as a social worker. So 12 months part-time work is considered as 6 months full-time work experience. So it is also considered. But if you have been always working as a casual social worker only, unfortunately, casual work experience is not considered, okay, in any type of the employer-sponsored visa. So be very careful here. You must get at least a part-time contract or full-time contract. And the other thing I would like to, the other thing I would like to inform you is, let's say by the end of your 485 visa, you still haven't got invitation through the general skill migration, while you only got, let's say, 2 years full-time work experience. So the next visa you can jump to is the 482 work visa. All right, you can continue work for your employer and to obtain the work experience. So once you get in total 3 years full-time work experience, you can choose to either change to 186 visa or apply 494 provisional PR visa. Or if your employer says, okay, I'm not ready to sponsor you for another visa, no problem. You can just keep on working for the sponsoring employer for another 3 years time on 482 visa. After 3 years, you will be again qualified for the 186 visa under the TRT stream. All right. So yes, for employer sponsor stream, you will have lots of PR pathways as a social worker. All right. So in general, social work is a course I would like to strongly suggest everyone to do. But again, it requires the candidates. It requires you to first have 7H to be able to enroll into this course. So yes, this course has a slightly higher requirements on the English proficiency. So if you are confident or if you're confident on your English, or if you already got 7H, please, very welcome to contact me for your course enrollment. Or if you are already a student studying this course, or you are already a graduate from this course, and if you would like to discuss with me about your PR pathway, please feel free to contact me. I can see here we got some questions. Just give me 1 second, I'll quickly check. Okay, so the first question comes from Raj Joshi. He's asking, please also tell about PR pathway for community service 1-year course without AQUA accreditation. Okay, I assume, Raj, you're talking about AQUA ACWA, not AQUA. See, so I'm not sure what type of community service course you did, but why is it only 1 year? So was it a diploma or it's a bachelor, or did you get any credit transfer? So, but anyway, if your diploma or bachelor is not accredited by ACWA, by Aqua, then you will need to get 12-month full-time work experience in order to pass the full skill assessment as community worker or the other related occupation. All right, so you need to have 12 months full-time work experience to pass the skill assessment. And here, the Aqua's definition for the skill assessment purpose, the 1 year full-time work experience, the full-time work experience means 30 hours per week job. Okay, just 30 hours per week job means full-time in the skill assessment for community worker. Felix is actually asking about accounting. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Felix is saying he would like to know if you have accounting background and you would like to switch to social work, can you do that onshore in Australia? So Felix, do you mean you're currently studying accounting and you would like to change the major of the field of study to social work, or you mean you already finished your Bachelor of Accounting and you would like to study Master of Social Work? Let's say if you are still doing your bachelor and you just would like to change your bachelor course from accounting to social work, I think that should be fine. Please contact me and we will discuss more. But if you already finished your Bachelor of Accounting and you would like to do Master of Social Work, that is actually case by case, because for most of the universities who provide the Master of Social Work course, they will have some requirements. They will have some requirement on the units that you studied in your bachelor qualification that must related to, like, let's say some public health. All right, they would have certain requirement on your units that is studied in your bachelor. So yeah, Felix, please contact us and show us your transcript so we can discuss case by case. And also, if you did any kind of voluntary job, volunteer job in previously, that might be helpful with your enrollment as well. Gujapan Core is asking, is that a good idea to social work study in Melbourne? I would say yes, like what I say currently, no matter where you study, okay, no matter where you're studying, you will be eligible for 189, 189 independent migration. Currently, even for 189 visa, the cutoff point for a social worker is just 65 points. This is just the threshold points for you to lodge EOI. So no matter where you study social work, I believe in the next 1 to 2 years time, I can't promise you in the long term, but in the next 1 to 2 years time, I believe this job will be in high demand, will be continuously in high demand. So the invitation point should be continuously lower than most of the other occupations. Vikram is asking, what is the time frame after getting pre-invite in IT of Western Australia? Vikram, sorry, because our today's topic is all about social work, so I wouldn't talk too much about the other occupations, all right? Because we still got many other questions to be answered, but just in general, for the time frame of getting pre-invitation in any occupation, okay, in any occupation in Western Australia, is once you get pre-invitation, you have 28 days to go ahead with the state nomination application. Once the state nomination application is lodged, the usual processing time is around 1 month. All right, so after 1 month, once your state nomination is approved, you will have 28 days to sign the agreement and to accept this final invitation. Once you sign the agreement, you will get the final invitation to lodge the either 190 or 491 visa within few days. And once you get the final invitation, you have 60 days to lodge the visa. All right, so once the visa is lodged, currently the processing time for 190 or 491 visa is between 6 to 9 months, the average. All right, so hope this helps. Aussizz Joshi is asking if person just have a master degree of social worker and already in New South Wales without any social worker experience, is he still eligible for any social work PR option? Yes. Like what I say, 189. Remember 189. 189 is always the best visa, and currently the cutoff point for 189 independent migration visa, as for the social worker, is just 65 points. Okay, the October invitation round cutoff point for social worker for both onshore offshore AOIs were just 65 points only. All right, so if this person, like what Aussizz says, a person already finished a master degree of social worker, just go ahead to do your skill assessment done, because skill assessment doesn't require you to have any work experience. All right, and once the skill assessment is done, just lodge the EOI, and I hope you can get invitation very soon. Oh, okay. I just saw the further questions from Aussizz. Aussizz says the this Master of Social Work degree is actually not from India. It's actually sorry, it's not from Australia. It's actually from India, from overseas, and no experience so far, neither in India or Australia. So does he eligible for any social worker PR option? In this case, again, like what I say, skills assessment is the prerequisite for most of the PR visas. So we need to first figure out how we can get the skill assessment done. All right. So Aussizz, I need to know what this person, or I'm not sure if this is your scenario. I need to know what visa this person is holding, whether he has a work right, and also I need to see the transcript of this person, and also if you would like to further discuss, I would like you to contact me personally so we can sit down, or we can I can give you a call to detail discuss how we can pass the skill assessment. All right. Okay, and Tariq, there's a question from Tariq. Tariq is asking, is a graduate of philosophy can do a Master of Social Work? I would say most likely, because philosophy, as a philosophy bachelor graduates, you should have studied lots of quite a lot units about this about this like house house studies. So most likely you will be eligible to study the Master of Social Work. But yeah, if you don't mind, I would like to have a look at your transcript to double check. Does 189 visa need degree assessment? Yes. So all the types of general skill migration visa, 189, 190, 491, they require the skill assessment. And even for employer-sponsored visa, okay, employer-sponsored visa for the direct PR 186 visa, it requires assessment as well. Okay, it requires skill assessment, as well as the 494 regional skilled employer-sponsored visa, it requires skill assessment. For 482, because 482 is just a temporary resident visa, so for 482 visa, if your nominated occupation is social worker, you do not need to get a full skill assessment. So skill assessment is not a compulsory requirement, only for 482 visa. All right. Oh yeah, so this is for your wife, Ashish. Yeah, if your wife is on is on 482 visa. Oh, she's on 482 dependent. Okay, Ashish, I really would like to talk to you um, straight away. So I believe I've already put my email address, the contact details here. So would you mind give me a call straight away so we can discuss in details? All right, that will be much better. So, because I don't want to disclose too many details of you here with everyone. So please call me. My number is 0862203777, or you can feel free to email me. All right, and we can discuss in details. All right. Hope today's this live is helpful. Can give you some help. So I think that's almost the end of today. It's already almost 4 p.m. at my time. And if you're from Eastern, that's almost 7 p.m. at your time. So time for lunch. All right. So yes, again, if you have any question, feel free to let me know. My name is YuTing, and I'm the registered migration agent from Perth office. My contact number is 086220 3220 All right. Very nice talking to you guys, and see you next time.